points. So, I mean, what do you think, Ryan? Is there any possible way that Arizona walks away 1-0 after this game?
Yeah, I really do. And I've been going back and forth on this game for weeks. Like, I think to myself they could win, and then like it could go the other way. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I think both teams are going to score 25, 27 plus, and it's just I don't know. I'm still it's hard. In our staff picks on the Daily Wildcat, I predicted us to lose by a touchdown, but I'm kind of overthinking it a little bit now.
Honestly, I've been waffling back and forth too because it feels like this is a game where it's easy to just say, "Oh yeah, Arizona's going to get smoked." But I don't know. I think this game will be close. Like I actually think Arizona will cover the 14-point spread. I can't see them getting blown out, but I don't think Arizona will necessarily. I think they'll come up just short. But I can totally see this game being a shootout. Like both teams are kind of in the same boat where they're replacing a ton of starters on his defense, but has a good amount of returning talent side of the ball. So I totally wouldn't be surprised if this is a game where both defenses just struggle to get stops. Like on our staff picks over at the Wildcat, I had them losing 38-30. So I just see a lot of points being scored in this game. I don't see the defense really making a whole lot of stops when it matters most. And I don't know. I'm honestly a little optimistic about this matchup if Arizona ends up winning, just because like we just talked about with the wide receivers versus Utah's secondary. Like Utah is replacing 3 of its cornerbacks, like Julian Blackmon, Jalen Johnson, and Terrell Burgess. Right, those are 3 top cornerbacks they're going to have to replace. So, like if there's a position group that Arizona can exploit in this game, it's the secondary. Like I would expect Arizona to take some deep shots early and just kind of get a feel for the corners. And I'm really confident in Arizona's wide receiver group. I think that there's a lot of returning talent there. They're pretty deep at that position. Like, guys like Stanley Berryhill and Trey Adams, who started last year, are now backups, and they're listed as the 4th or 5th wide receiver on the depth chart. So that means that the upcoming talent has outproduced them, and we could see a productive little wide receiver group with Boobie Curley and Brian Castile and Jamari Joyner. So I don't know. I'm confident in this wide receiver group, but of course, we all really expect like Arizona's defense to be shaky. So I expect a lot of points to be scored here, and I think Arizona's defense scares me a little bit because Utah's offense is not as bad as you would think that they're. They're pretty they got a couple of weapons that make me a little bit nervous. Like they got Britton Covey and they've got Brant Keithy in particular. Like I don't know, Britton Covey is legit, at least from what I've heard. He's a great player, but I think Brant Keithy scares me a little bit more, honestly, just because, Arizona's linebackers are going to be lined up against him since he's the tight end. So I don't know. I mean, between Utah's run game and having to guard Brant Keithy, I think that the linebacking core is going to have their hands full. So I expect a whole lot of points being scored in this game. Like I could easily see in this one being a shootout, but I think Arizona's going to fall a tad short. I think they'll cover the spread, but I don't know if they'll exactly win this game.
Yeah, I just have a very good feeling about this offense this weekend. Like, I think I don't see any way this offense doesn't score 30 points.
Yeah.
I just don't. I would be shocked if they don't. I would be shocked. I just love this offense so much. And I think their defense is going to prove that they're a little underrated. I think their linebackers are veterans, and I think they're good. And I think 100% I think they're going to cover the 14 easily. I think it's going to be 3 to 7 point game.
Yeah, I think this is interesting because I think Arizona's catching Utah at the right time, right? Like I think that if this was, week 4 and, we're sitting here and we're looking at this game, like, no, I wouldn't peg that as a win, necessarily, just because, it's later in the season. So Utah has, more weeks to kind of get established. But in week 1, like they're starting a whole new quarterback and a whole new running back, and they've got the whole new secondary that they got to work with. Like Arizona could be catching this team at the right time and catching them while they're still trying to, get all their stuff together and make sure that they're ready for the season. Like, I don't know. Arizona's offense is sneaky good. Like nobody, expects them to be very good, but Grant Gunnell is legit. Like they've got good running backs. They've got wide receivers. Like this team's going to score a lot of points, and they've got a good offensive line too. A lot of returners. That 5 is a really good starting offensive line. Like like last year, part of the problem was that Grant Gunnell was just getting sacked like every 1.5 seconds as soon as it would drop back. But now that this offensive line is together for another year, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Arizona wins this game. But like, I don't know. I think the biggest difference maker for me is just the coaching. Like, if you look at these teams' personnel issues, they're exactly the same, right? Like, Utah's got a new quarterback. So does Arizona to an extent. Utah's got a new starting running back. So does Arizona. Utah's got a whole new defensive, secondary and starters to replace. So does Arizona. So, I mean, like, you really start to look around. You think, where's the difference maker going to be in this game? And I don't think it'll be on the field. I actually think it'll be on the sidelines. And if you want to compare coaching staffs, I mean, Utah clearly has the upper hand. Like, Kyle Whittingham is like one of the best coaches in the conference, like hands down. Like, he always makes that team competitive every single year, and with not even the top recruits either. Like, you never really see Utah haul in these 5-star recruits. They're always bringing in these 3-star guys and maybe a couple 4-stars, and they compete for the Pac-12 championship every single year. So that really tells you what kind of coaching staff they have over at Utah. And I don't know, like, I'm optimistic about Arizona's coaching staff, especially this year with all the new guys. I think that they hired some real coaches who can come in and make a difference. But which coach is going to make the better, make the best in-game adjustment at halftime? I have to think that Kyle Whittingham is going to outcoach Kevin Sumlin in this game. So yeah. I think that the personnel issues match up really interesting together, but I think that difference maker will be the coaching staff.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And also what we've been talking about for weeks now is that you never know what's going to happen. We don't know when certain teams started and stopped practicing, how much time they've been together. So I think there's going to be some upsets in the Pac-12 this week, and I think this could be one of them. I think this has a good shot of being one of the few upsets that I think could happen this weekend. I
mean, yeah, like, we've seen crazier things happen in like the Pac-12. Like, I remember a few years ago, Arizona, hosted, number, whatever ranked Oregon when they had Justin Herbert, and they blew the doors off of them. It was like 40-something to 7. Like, Justin Herbert looked terrible. He couldn't figure out the zone. Like, I don't know. Like, we've seen crazier things happen in college football before, and we know how the Pac-12 is. Like, the Pac-12 is infamous for just beating up on each other, and that's part of the reason why we never see a Pac-12 team in the college football playoffs, is because everyone's conference record sucks, because there's some random team that always beats the team that they're not supposed to beat. We saw it last year when an ASU went and beat Oregon and basically ruined their college football season hopes, or the college football playoffs hopes. So we've seen crazier things happen, and I think Arizona is catching this team at the right time. I don't know, 14 points is, I don't know, I wouldn't take that spread. I really wouldn't. As someone who he's watches Arizona a lot, and they may be a little bit biased, but optimistic about this team. I don't know. I wouldn't take that spread. I think this is going to be a pretty close game, and maybe they can pull off the upside. I think if you're looking at all of the Pac-12 games and you're seeing which games would be an upset, I don't really see Stanford upsetting Oregon, but I can easily see this game happening as well. But I don't know. Maybe we're a little bit biased. I think from what everybody else is saying, that this game shouldn't even be close. So I don't really know. I don't know. I think this game's going to be close, but who knows?
Yeah, I do think we're a little bit biased, just talking to the players and all. But yeah, I do. I think this has the best chance out of the better half of teams that Arizona's playing to be an upset. And yeah, I do think it. I think it's going to be a close one. But I think my final picks. I think I'm going to pick Arizona to win by a field goal, and I got Grant Gunnell throwing 3 touchdowns.